We're here today to honor Albany County Veteran of the Month of November, Mr. John J. Kowalskey, who served in the United States Marines during World War II.
In this moment of silence, we are filled with God's love and hope, just as John's life filled those around him with inspiration and determination. After serving in the Pacific during World War II, John demonstrated that rank alone does not determine greatness.
My dad had a recurring dream when he was growing up. He was running across the field and he was looking back over his shoulder. And of course there weren't many planes around in those days because he was born a long time ago, 1919. So there was no reason to be running across the field and looking back over his shoulder. And the dream would end every night where he would fall and land in a ditch. And that would be the end of the dream. And it bothered him as he grew up. And then one day he was running across the field during the war, and he was looking back over his shoulder because the Japanese planes were coming in and they were dropping bombs. And as he looked over his shoulder, he fell into a ditch, and the dream instantaneously came back to him. And at that moment he thought he was going to die because that's where the dream ended every time he had it. But because he fell into a low ditch, the bomb blew up and he wasn't hit by any shrapnel. And he brushed himself off and went on to live 92 years after that.
You know, you think about it, to spend, going to the Marine Corps, I think it went in 1942 or 42, or was it 41? For 3 years and 9 months, served this country. I heard from the 1st Marine Division, seeing the most action in the Pacific. Is that true? Yes. And, it says a lot about his character.
Those individuals, like he, stand there as constant reminder for us to serve this nation and serve it well, and dedicate our actions to a more peaceful world. And so his endurance, his strength of character, his undeniable patriotism, and his embracing the shuddering that required his loyalties to this nation and our flag motivate and inspire us here this morning.
I think it's important that we, as the generation that followed, and as our children and their children follow, that we can't take it as a cop-out, that this was the greatest generation and we can't possibly aspire to that greatness. We all must aspire to look at the lessons, look at the example that they provided, and aspire to that greatness.
Mr. Kowalski was always a quiet man, polite, but also respectful. I think that's the word that comes to mind mostly, is respect. I know I learn an awful lot from the people I interact with on a regular basis, and I count your husband and your dad as one of those individuals who's had an impact on my life in many aspects.
That you also have served from your heart, and you are one of the greatest because you were willing to serve, and I thank you. Please stand as we have taps